Today we're continuing our dive into the unit circle. Now, I want to remind us of some things. So when we're talking about circular trigonometry, this is our x value, this is our y value, and if I think about this as a right triangle, I can remember some of the right triangle definitions. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine was adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent was opposite over adjacent. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so it's the flip of sine. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. And cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent. Now, with our circular angles, the opposite side from this angle is y. So I have y over r. Adjacent would be the x. Opposite is y, adjacent is x. Notice r is my hypotenuse. So when I get to the reciprocals, I'm just flipping it this way. Now, something that's really interesting is when we're on a unit circle, what was the radius? On the unit circle, our radius is 1, so y divided by 1 is just y. X divided by 1 is just x. Now this is still y divided by x. Here the radius is 1, so it's 1 over y, or the reciprocal of y. 1 over x, or the reciprocal of x. And then this would be still x over y. So we can actually use our unit circle to find trig ratios. So what I did was I separated mine out so I have it handy. So I'm going to look up 3 pi over 4, and the point at 3 pi over 4, so 3 pi over 4, the point is negative square root of 2 over 2, comma square root of 2 over 2. Well, sine is the y value. Cosine, and I grabbed the wrong paper just now. I needed one that was filled in. I didn't have that one filled in. So the next one has cosine of 3 pi over 4. Well, we just wrote down the point from 3 pi over 4. And that point was negative square root of 2 over 2, comma, square root of 2 over 2. So cosine is the x value. Ooh, and then it's got plus the sine of 7 pi over 4. So I'm going to find 7 pi over 4 on my unit circle. Sine is the y value. And if I add those together, I've got negative one of these minus another one of these. So I'd have negative 2 square root of 2 over 2. Or just negative square root of 2. Tangent of pi over 6. That's y over x. So I'm going to find pi over 6. And I'm going to be taking the y value. So let me write this down, y over x. So the y value divided by the x value. Now something really interesting happens here because they both have a denominator of 2. If I multiplied the top and bottom by 2, it would cancel out these denominators. So I would just be left with 1 over the square root of 3. Next one is tangent of 7 pi over 6. So I need to find 7 pi over 6. Again, it's y divided by x. Now, what we just saw, so we got y divided by x. The y is negative 1/2. The x is negative square root of 3 over 2. The 2's kind of cancel out, and I've got a negative divided by negative, which gives me a positive 1 over the square root of 3. Secant of 11 pi over 6. Well, I'm going to start with what is cosine of 11 pi over 6. And cosine would be the x value. That's square root of 3 over 2. Secant is going to be the reciprocal. So secant is going to be 2 over the square root of 3. Cosecant of 4 pi over 2. Okay, well, 4 pi over 2 isn't on my chart, but 4 over 2, that's just 2 pi. And cosecant would be the reciprocal of y. And y at 2 pi is 0. So this is 1 over the y value of 0. And then tangent of 5 pi over 4, the y value is negative square root of 2 over 2. The x value is negative square root of 2 over 2. Now this one is undefined. And this would just be a positive 1. But if I have something undefined, the whole thing is undefined. Sine of negative 2 pi over 3. Now there's a couple of ways I can get to that. I could add 2 pi and get the coterminal angle that lands there. You can also kind of use reflections. Here's positive 2 pi over 3. So negative 2 pi over 3 would be down here. Now sine is the y value. So that's negative square root of 3 over 2. Tangent of negative 5 pi over 2. Whoa. Okay, so I'm going to come off to the side, and I'm going to add 2 pi, which would be 4 pi over 2. And that gives me negative 1 pi over 2 plus 4 pi over 2 gives me 3 pi over 2. So this is going to be the same as the tangent of 3 pi over 2. Tangent is y divided by x. Uh-oh. Y is negative 1. X is 0. That's undefined. Negative 2 times the cosine of negative 3 pi. Okay, negative 3 pi. 1, 2, 3. And cosine is negative 1. Plus, now cotangent was x over y. Negative pi over 4 will be backwards of pi over 4. X over y. So square root of 2 over 2 divided by negative square root of 2 over 2. That gives me a 2. These would cancel, and I'd be left with square root of 2 divided by negative square root of 2. Well, that's just a negative 1. Wow, that one just reduced to a 1. That's really awesome. All right, I also want to remind us of some things. Determining which quadrant we're in. So cosine is greater than 0. That means x is greater than 0. And tangent was y over x. So greater than 0 means it's positive. Less than 0 means it's negative. So if x is positive, but if I divide y by x, I get a negative number, that means y is negative. So which quadrant would we land in? Well, let's remember our quadrants. 1, 2, 3, 4, positive, positive, negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, negative. So x is positive, y is negative. That's quadrant 4. Cosine is greater than 0, so x is positive. But tangent is undefined. Well, that only happens if we divide by 0. So y divided by x is undefined would mean x is 0. Well, can you be greater than 0 and equal to 0? No. Tangent is greater than 0, so is positive. Cosecant is 1 over y, is less than 0, so is negative. That means y is negative. But if y divided by x is positive, then x is also negative. That puts us in quadrant 3. Sine, that's y. Y is less than 0, that's negative. Cosecant is 1 over x is undefined. That means x is 0, because when you divide by 0, you get it undefined. So where do we have an x is 0 and a y that is negative? Well, that actually happens at only one spot. That happens at 3 pi over 2. Now, the last one's kind of challenging. It says, suppose the angle is between pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. That means one of these quadrants. And sine is equal to 1/2. So sine is the y value. Can we figure out where we're at? Well, that would be 5 pi over 6. And the point there was negative square root of 3 over 2, comma 1/2. Could you find all the other trig ratios? So sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, cotangent.